The Answer.
Hey, Joe on the radio. Frank Pallotta is a Republican running for New Jersey's 5th Congressional District, host of Frankly Speaking, Sundays, 10 a.m., right here on AM 970, The Answer. Hey, Frank, welcome to the show, my friend. Great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it, and this is an amazing honor. Thank you.
Oh, listen. First of all, I really appreciate what you're doing, the way you're approaching your run in the 5th Congressional District in Bergen County, because you were on the cruise. We were on this schmooze cruise, right? And you were there, and you never came over, and you never said. And I respect this more than I could tell you. Hey, Joe, hi, I'm Frank Pallotta. I'm running, and you know what can you do? You never did a set. You were there looking at your notes, and I said, "Hey, Frank, how are you?" You said, "Joe, how are you? Great to." Yeah, it was so cool, man. That was so cool. You know, because you're really committed to this. And then I said, you know, we talked about who you're running against, who's a guest on this show. And I said, that's a tough run, but you are committed. Then you come on the radio show. Then you get your own show. I just love the direction that you're taking, Frank. I got to tell you, very proud of to have you with us on the radio station.
You know what, Joe? I appreciate it. This is, I don't know if it was a passion of mine to run for office, but it was a passion of mine to serve and find a way to give back. And this just was the right thing at the right time against, I think, the wrong guy. But, you know, we're going to put our head down. We're going to work forward. I think we've got a lot of issues that have been bumping up here in the 5th and across the state and the country that I think we as a party, a Republican Party, have an answer for. So I'm doing this, and it's pedal to the metal.
Yeah, it's true. So what do you do to cut tax? That's the thing. No one talks about taxes in New Jersey. It's ridiculous. People, you know, the money they're leaving with people. How many, and it sounds like Al always goes, it sounds beyond the people, but the millionaires that we know, I know the billionaires with a B that have just plain left the state. Do you know the money they lose when people run out of New York and New Jersey? What can you possibly do to cut the taxes, Frank?
So the first thing we do, and obviously New Jersey, Joe, has very high property taxes. You can't do a lot in my position to lower property taxes. What you can do in a House position is lower the tax burden. And that's what's happened. That's what's worked against us over the last 24 months is the tax burden has increased. Most notably, and you and I talked about this, was salt. There was an opportunity with salt. For 4 years, Josh Baumheimer's been talking about, gutting that cap. And that would help. It really would help. And it's just year after year after year, no salt, no dice, no salt, no deal. And you're right. I think we're the number one exodus state New Jersey is for the past 3 years. It will be for a 4th year. And when the top 1% leave, Joe, you don't replace it with another 1%. You replace it with 4 or 5 or 6 or 7%. So the numbers don't look great over the long term. So, I think there's a lot of opportunities to bring business back to New Jersey. I think we look to find tax breaks, incentives, and cuts to make businesses want to stay and come back. And when that happens, the people stay as well.
Yeah, it's true. Stop the regulation. The overregulation's insane. The tolls. They don't talk about the toll. How many times you got to come out of and if you're listening around the country, you ain't seen tolls unless you traveled New Jersey because they have one toll getting onto the turnpike, another toll getting off the turnpike. Then there's another toll as you approach the Holland Tunnel, and then there's the Holland Tunnel toll. I mean, somebody's got, and you know what else would be great, Frank Pallotta, if I may? And you just cut the state income tax. Cut the state income tax. Because Brendan Burns, who rest his soul, a great guy, but really, a liberal Democrat. But not to take anything away from Brendan and Ruthie, they were like royalty in New Jersey. We understand that. But he brought the income tax in. Cut it. Take it away, man. Say no. How does Texas, Frank Pallotta? How does Texas function? How does Florida function? How do these great, huge, humongous size of country states function without a state income tax, yet New Jersey's got among the highest in the country?
It's, because it's easier to raise taxes. You've got Republican leaderships in states where they're able to lower it or eliminate it, and you do it by providing other sources of revenue, other sources of income that benefit business and the people that are here. And what's really more frustrating, Joe, is there are models around the country. You mentioned Texas. You mentioned Florida. And it's one of these things you scratch your head. And in my industry, and, I came from the finance industry, there's nothing like precedence. When you see that something works, you try it, you tweak it, you make it better. And if it's worse, you try and fix it so that it gets better. So this has become something that I'd like to work on. And when they talk about the Problem Solvers Caucus,
Yeah.
I think, Josh Gottheimer's talked about that. The Problem Solvers Caucus shouldn't be a handful of people in the House. The Problem Solvers Caucus, Joe, should be 435 House members all working together, like they did under Reagan, like they did back in the day when they all worked and talked together to find out what was best for the country.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ronald Reagan's a great reference. I love when someone like like yourself uses that as a reference, because he and Tip O'Neill were so close. It was legendary how close they were. And why can't we get back to that? Is true. Hey, Frank, tell me about yourself though before we let you go, man. You're a Jersey boy, and that's an Italian last name. We love that, my brother. So tell us about yourself and your upbringing, please.
Sure. I was actually born in Queens, New York. Mom was a nurse. Dad was a toll collector. I just lost him about a month and a half ago. But
so sorry.
I grew up in Queens. Oh, thank you. And met my wife, my soon-to-be wife, when we both worked on Wall Street, and she snapped her fingers, and I came to New Jersey about 35 years ago, Bergen County, Mawa, and I never left. And when I retired from the industry, Joe, a couple of years back. I looked for an opportunity to try and give back, and I started it with a startup that I put together to help veterans who were struggling through the financial crisis. And I got to tell you, Joe, that was the only taste I needed to know how important it is to help people who need it. And right after I got rid of the startup, I wanted to help. And, I looked around, and my wife said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "What about Congress?" And she said, "You mean of the United States?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the one." So we're looking to do it. We're looking to look people in the eye in the 5th District, tell them I'm the answer. And we are, Joe. We've got the solutions, and I think our party, which will take the House this year, we're going to take it, and we're not going to, look back. We're not going to be vindictive. We're going to look forward to what we have to do to make our state and our country a better place. Well said.
And before we let you go, Frank, you getting any help from the national GOP, sir?
We are. We've we spoke to Leader McCarthy. We were endorsed by Steve Scalise, which was great. Steve Scalise reached out to me, another Italian American.
Yeah.
On the night of the primary, so we're doing that. I mean, if people want to look and either donate or help or read more about what we're doing, www.frankfornj.com, and that's the number 4, Joe. But we got a lot of exciting things going on. But they are helping. We are one of only a handful of targeted races in New Jersey that the NRCC is looking at, and I'm happy that we are one of them.
I love it. Frank Pallotta, and also Frank's on Frankly Speaking. That's Sundays, 10 a.m. right here on AM 970 The Answer. Great chat, Frank. Please come back anytime, man. Great to see you, and all the very best, and we'll talk soon for sure.
You got it, my friend. Be well and be safe, Joe. Thanks.
You too. Thank you. Frank Pallotta right there. Pallotta, Pallotta. Now that's Italian. Hey.